will be taking the next hour to share with you how Salesforce is helping commercial bankers and lenders accelerate revenue growth using purpose-built analytics designed for the financial services industry. And we're also partnering with Atrium, one of the leading implementation partners in our industry, to share all this with you today. Next slide, please. We'll be hearing from a great group who has experience and expertise across the industry. I'm Unique Faubert, a former loan officer and our analytics and intelligence specialist for our financial services team. And I am joined by my colleague, Amber Knighton, our lead solution engineer, and Jim Collins, a career banker and our leading industry expert. And in addition to Salesforce, we'll be hearing from Matthew Bills, VP of Sales Enablement at Fulton Bank, and Gene Zeiger, Customer Engagement Director from Atrium. Next slide, please. We've got an action-packed agenda today, including hearing about the state of the banking industry from Jim Collins, followed by Amber's demo of Salesforce's capabilities around actionable insights in the flow of work for commercial bankers and lenders. And finally, we'll hear from Matthew and Gene to talk about their journey when it comes to analytics and their business. And with any extra time, we'll end with a Q&A. Next slide, please. In all Salesforce engagements, we want to start with thank you. Thank you for being a trusted partner of ours, and thank you for taking the time to spend with us today. Next slide, please. You're likely all familiar with the Customer 360. We're the customers at the center of everything we do. And we'll be highlighting the importance and value of actionable insights in that 360 and how being data-driven is no longer a way of working just for the back office. And now that we've shared our plan for the day, I'll be handing it over to Jim Collins to talk about the state of our industry. Jim?
Thanks, Unique. Appreciate it. And thank you, everybody. Happy to be here today. I'm Jim Collins, the Senior Director for our Financial Services Industry Advisor team, a former 27-year banker. I've been here with Salesforce for about 1.5 years. When I was a banker, I was on the Salesforce platform for 7 years and really leveraged the analytics tool. So I'm excited to talk about what we're seeing from a state of the industry perspective today, the state of banking, and how analytics will play a key role, especially with the macroeconomic conditions we're all faced with today. So next slide, please. So in the beginning of each year here at Salesforce, we take a look at some of the key industry trend themes. And these 4 were what we identified in the beginning of 2022, and they haven't changed. But as you can see from my highlighted box, economic conditions has really become the dominant trend that we're all trying to face and deal with today. But overall, the key trends in our industry continue to be technology advancement, our evolving customer expectations, dealing with competitive threats, and not only with banks and credit unions and regional banks, but also big tech that are really invading our space today. But most importantly, how are we dealing with economic conditions? And I think that when you take a look at the interest rate environment that we're in today, the 10-year Treasury started this year at about 2%. Today, it's hovering around 4.1%. So in a rising interest rate environment, it puts a lot of pressure on banks. However, it could be a positive because interest income and repricing of assets goes up, more interest income for banks, and we're seeing banks set recordly quarterly earnings from an interest income perspective. But it puts pressure on other parts of the organization, and we're going to get into that in a minute. But from an economic standpoint, interest rates, inflation at an all-time high, unemployment at almost an all-time low, and supply chain issues have really had us dealing with many different factors. And that's where analytics will come into play to help us identify those factors and how to deal with them from an executive decision-making perspective. So next slide, please. So when we talk about key areas of focus from our executive teams, these are the 3 areas that they're talking about today in management board and executive meetings. Number 1, profitable growth. Number 2, the economic downturn. And number 3, how do I invest in my infrastructure during this time? So you might be saying, well, profitable growth, isn't that the ultimate goal? Isn't that a common thing? Well, you can grow, but it may not be profitable because we're seeing potential NIM contraction versus NIM expansion in our industry. So even though rising interest rates are increasing interest income, the cost to fund those loans and that asset growth, because we are seeing asset growth even in a rising interest rate environment in non-real estate areas like C&I, non-real estate, different types of consumer finance areas, as well as specialty lending groups. the way to fund those loans is becoming very costly because Fed funds is at 4%. So improving the deposit mix and the low-cost core deposits to fund those will help improve the net interest margin of organizations. And that's important to understand. From an economic downturn perspective, with the looming recession because of the inflationary pressures, bank customers are being impacted negatively. Our commercial interest rate, their cost of debt is going up. Their ability to generate more revenue is coming down. So how, as bankers, are we dealing with that from not only a loan demand may be diminishing, but we may have asset quality issues. So we're seeing in quarterly reports, especially coming out of Q3 with the big four banks in the country, NPAs and loan loss reserves are increasing and creating a negative impact on financial statements of commercial banks. And lastly, a key area of focus for executive teams is really the infrastructure investment. How do I continue to invest in technology, whether it's analytics, enterprise platform solutions, in order to create automation and create the ability to continue to scale and grow my organization, but potentially reduce my IT stack to reduce my overall expenses? So these are the three areas that executives are talking about today, and really trying to understand, as the economic conditions continue to potentially get negative, how do they deal with this? Next slide, please. So when we take a look at some of the industry imperatives and the strategic initiatives, operational efficiency is the first initiative that everybody's focused in on. And the impact of that is really about creating end-to-end digitization. In the commercial banking space, that is, how do I deal with my commercial lending workflow? How do I deal with my annual review process? How do I create more end-to-end digitization from the customer through my back office to create efficiencies while I continue to grow my organization? In the interim, how do I continue to enhance my customer experience? So my commercial customers, they want that personalization too, just like consumer customers do. So we need to create data-driven insights and data-driven decisions in order to make an impact on that customer experience. We need to be able to create better pipeline management reporting. We need to be able to understand where the household and penetration and growth opportunities are. We need to understand how do we reduce the attrition of some of our highly profitable commercial customers while increasing the revenue of those households as well. And lastly, from a workforce productivity standpoint, we have a lot of our bankers that are challenged today with technology skills, but we have a lot of them out there that have great technology skills, and we want to attract, retain, and develop top talent in order to create a more productive workforce to be able to impact our enhancing our customer experience. So these are the three top imperatives and initiatives that commercial banks are truly working on today in order to deal with the trends that we're seeing in the marketplace. Next slide, please. So when we take a look at analytics for banking, and I mentioned a few of these already, but the most important thing for profitable growth is to really understand where the white space is for our commercial customer base. So for lending opportunities for C&I, we have to be able to identify that. Most importantly today are the funding opportunities. Where can we gain more deposits? Where can we create those opportunities to drive low-cost core deposits to continue to improve our NIM? And lastly, where are those fee income opportunities from treasury management and cash management opportunities that we haven't penetrated to enhance the customer experience and improve and increase the household penetration of those commercial customers? So product penetration and white space is the number one thing analytics are being used for today in commercial bank. Commercial banking and lending workflow is the second area which we talked about, creating that end-to-end digitization for operational efficiency. Customer retention. Everybody's after your profitable customers. How do you retain those customers in this environment? By providing a better experience and creating digital capabilities for those customers. And the way you do that is providing data-driven insights, which are driving the decisions for your customers to stay and grow their business with you. From a risk management perspective, and I want to highlight this, I think this is very important because profitability, remember, yes, you can grow your revenue, but you also have to minimize your losses. And in this economic environment, as non-performing assets and loan losses continue to go up, how do you identify those ahead of time? How do you use data? How do you use analytics to identify potential changes, whether it's risk rating changes with your borrowers, it's gaps in the annual review process where borrowers aren't providing you with critical information that you need to understand their financial positions? And then how do you identify potential covenant gaps? So debt service coverages aren't being covered today. How are you going to identify those potential risks and mitigate those risks. And these data points are critical in creating dashboards, executive spreadsheets, not spreadsheets, dashboards in order to drive, because everything's happening in spreadsheets today, creating those dashboards and those analytics to drive those decisions to help you identify those risks to minimize those losses. And that's where we're seeing a lot of commercial banks focus in on today, risk mitigation, as well as the revenue growth standpoint. So with that, those are the trends, the imperatives, and what we're seeing executives focus in on today, and how analytics are playing a role in commercial banking, especially in this macroeconomic environment. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Amber, who's going to share with you a demo of what we can do for you. Thank you.
Thanks, Jim. Good morning, afternoon, or evening, depending where you are. I happen to be in Los Angeles, which it's a bit gloomy and overcast today, but still excited to be here nonetheless. I'm a solution engineer, as was mentioned before, with CRM Analytics. I joined Salesforce almost 3 years ago. Prior to that, I spent a total of 20 years in banking and sales, with the bulk of that time in wealth planning. So today I'm going to walk you through what a day in the life of a commercial banker might look like and what it would be with an intelligent Salesforce experience. Next slide, please. And so this is just is a standard Salesforce opportunity page, which might look familiar to some of you. Hopefully it looks familiar to most of you. Next slide. But this is an intelligent opportunity record page. So what you're seeing here is account at a glance. So everything as a commercial banker that I need to know about my account is presented here. So things like NPS score, marketing score, total activities. So this is completely configurable depending upon your business use cases and what your commercial reps want to see when they're in the accounts or opportunity pages. You could surface that information. And also the data for this doesn't necessarily have to be in Salesforce. So for example, NPS score is probably being tracked in another system. But with our analytics solution, you could bring that external data and combine it and surface that for that single pane of glass view for your commercial reps. And then along with that, this is telling them about the account, what has happened in the past, but then it also is looking into the future. It's telling them what the predicted win rate for this opportunity is going to be. And along with that, it's telling the commercial rep what proactive actions they can take to improve that outcome. You could surface predicted win rates. You could surface predicted days to close for opportunities. For accounts, you could have attrition scores, propensity to deepen. The list goes on, depending upon your business needs. So the use cases are really unlimited, providing that intelligent experience for your commercial bankers. Next slide, please. So what's powering this intelligent experience is CRM Analytics. It's an analytics product that is purpose-built for the CRM user. It provides that intelligent experience that no other product can provide in that Salesforce experience. So you can unlock the full power of your data, whether that data is inside of Salesforce or outside. And you can surface context-specific insights in the workflow. So whether you're in the home screen or whether you're in an account or opportunity page, you can surface those relevant insights for your end user. And also depending upon the type of user, whether it's a commercial rep or a manager, you'll see in the demo the different insights are being surfaced relevant to their jobs being done. Next slide. Now, our biggest value prop, in my opinion, by far, is analytics in the flow. So like I said, whether you're in the homepage, account page, or surfacing those insights, but then we have actions to point at the point of insight. So your commercial bankers can take action on these insights right from the dashboard itself. So for example, if you're surfacing top clients who have, let's say, not been contacted in the last 180 days, that's being surfaced in the homepage, and your commercial rep from the dashboard itself could take an action of setting up an appointment or adding a reminder task from the dashboard itself. So it increases Salesforce adoption, it increases banker productivity, and it's that unique experience which only CRM Analytics can provide within the Salesforce platform. Next slide, please. So next, you're going to see a demo. If you have any questions, please feel free to stop me at any time. I'll pause after each of the sections for questions. You can also ask those questions in the chat. And so I'm going to be focusing on two personas here. One is the relationship manager. You can see how the day in the life is with that experience that I just talked about. And then time permitting, the sales manager experience where they can manage their metrics, mentor the commercial reps to help them beat their year-end goals. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump right into the demo. I'm going to just take over share screen. Are you able to see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So this is a system of engagement. Obviously, it's Salesforce. As a commercial banker, I might begin to look up an opportunity based on, let's say, a phone call, an email, or some customer conversation that I had. Just going to highlight some key areas that I want to focus in on. Here again, I'm in the customer opportunity record page. Really want to hone in here on the value of native analytics, right? This is an example of a way that our customers in the commercial banking have implemented and deployed these intelligent visualizations throughout their Salesforce experience. And again, perhaps I'm on a call with a customer. I can immediately see the value here in having analytics embedded and visualized in this way. I have everything I need to know about the customer in context to this customer, not only in terms of what my relationship is with this customer, but also some guidance from Salesforce and from analytics to really guide me and advise me around what I should act on. So for example, looking at our revenue trend and forecast, here we're looking at how the business performed for the customer and how the customer has performed with us in terms of the business we have closed, the business we're projecting in the future. We're also looking at opportunity pipeline. Here's some of my white space. It's now helping me out. Knowing that I have some opportunity pipeline, I can see where I not only closed this year, but also year over year. I can see that I might be down year over year, or even where some of the opportunities are for the propensity to deepen within this case, specialty financing or SBA loans, and what my opportunity there is, right? I can also see a full 360 around this customer. So I can even see some of the support cases that are going on. Again, this information is being pulled potentially from Service Cloud in this case. I can see those that are new in terms of support cases, those that are waiting, those that are even I've even responded to. And I can even see my overall wallet share with this customer. So I can see that I have some work to do as well to increase those numbers. And then lastly, looking over here, I can see an NPS score, which may be coming again from an external third-party data source, or as you might have heard from Dreamforce, could even come from CDP or Genie. And so it's embedded predicted attrition score here to maybe glean some insight regarding the potential happiness of this customer. And I can also see activities. So we're using these activities is really part of our machine learning model, and it's the activities that are really driving propensity to win and trend over time. And then lastly here, it's showing me the number of days since my last touch, which is valuable information and is recorded based on activities within Salesforce. So this is very powerful, the ability to enhance data within the CRM with external sources and surface these insights right here for the business user to use. CRM Analytics has that capability to ingest data from external systems, combine it for you, and embed it right here so that it's completely eliminates that swivel chair effect. So now commercial bankers aren't spending hours prepping for customer meetings to get information about a customer. By embedding this dashboard in the flow of work on an opportunity page, on the account page, in the home page, as we'll see, it eliminates that timely process and allows your reps to focus more on selling and talking to the customer versus spending time prepping and collating those numbers, right? So this is backward-looking analytics. So it's going to show me what happened. Now, if we combine that here with forward-looking analytics or predictive analytics, we can see what will happen or what could happen. So I can see here this embedded Einstein predictions card. Einstein is giving me a predicted win rate, showing me top predictors, meaning there's complete transparency. So the machine learning in the CRMA platform actually will learn from your data, and you have complete control over the data elements you put in. And it will detect the key predictors for you and surface that. So it's your model from your data surfaced the way you want. We're really automating the analysis of millions and millions of possible combinations of data in an automated model where we can then train that model and deploy it very quickly. So Einstein here is predicting the propensity to win score just above 17%. So the what is important, but we need to combine it with the why to really truly trust and to build trust within the business users. So what's unique about the predictive score I'm getting is that it's giving me explanations in natural language, which only Salesforce has a unique capability to not only show me the score, but showing me an explanation in those predictive variables of how it came up with that score. So the leading causes around how that score was derived. So in this case, we can see because the discount type is no unused line fee and opportunity product is loans, it's adding to this score because account classification is prospect and the executive sponsor identified there's none, it directionally detracting from the score. Below, we can see the leading causes. Einstein also is giving us prescriptive analytics showing recommendations around how to improve that outcome. So what can be done about it? In other words, ways to improve this score. So in this case, we can increase our win rate potentially by identifying an executive sponsor or potentially making a pitch to a company executive. Now, there's no Salesforce product which is easier to align to a customer's business goals, given the robust prediction model here. And it's distilled into the user experience on a granular per record basis with the prospect of continuous incremental improvements to the business. Right here, scrolling down, I can take advantage of this next best action suggestion, and by just clicking a button, as a commercial banker, I can add them to an executive onboarding campaign, for example. So we really make it easy for your commercial reps in this case to take these actions. And as I would take these actions, rich data is being captured, which can then be used to rerun these machine learning models and make it more and more accurate. So let's say that you're actually identifying that executive sponsor here. We can actually take that action directly from the flow of work without leaving, right? So if I go ahead and identify that executive sponsor, I'm going to go here and click yes and click save. What we notice then is that Einstein prediction card is then updated and my score is then updated. So just by taking this action, I can see my score has increased with the guidance from the machine learning platform. So that's what it means to really have an intelligent experience, that intelligent selling experience, backward-looking analytics to really provide context, combined with forward-looking predictions and recommendations to take the right action at the right time. And here we've centered the value of analytics for the frontline commercial sales reps, those individual contributors. And just in a little bit, we will see the value of the native analytics for sales leadership. But we started here on the opportunity record page for this customer where I was able, as a commercial rep, to get a lot of in-context guidance, right? A lot of unique functionality, looking at a full customer 360 with forward-looking insights into where I'm going to end up with my opportunities, as well as being able to understand my next best actions. So next, I'll navigate to the home page to work out and to work on the rest of my priorities with my book of business. But before I go on, do we have any questions there in the chat or any questions anyone want to come off?
I think we're good for now, but we'll take some later during the Q&A.
Sounds good. So let's go ahead and dive into what that intelligent experience for a commercial rep looks like here on the home page. So I'm logging again, as I'm logging into my system of engagement, Salesforce. Again, I can quickly see that snapshot, that analytics snapshot embedded right in my home page. I have tailored experience that's relevant to me as a customer, as a commercial sales rep. I can quickly see where I am current year versus my previous year goals for all the products that I'm selling. So current year versus last year, how I'm doing year over year, what my percent to goal is, what my gap to goal is. So this is giving me line of sight as to what additional closed and won opportunities I need to work on to meet those year-end goals. Conditional formatting lends me to understanding green's good, red's bad. I can also see and look into my forecast, right? And see how my forecast is trending along with those different products. So if I want to maybe look at deposits, I can see that. If I want to see how I'm doing in merchant services, you can see that it's an interactive dashboard. And then it's also showing me how my pipeline is trending here. So the pipeline health. So I'm able to, am I generating enough pipeline on a monthly basis, and how my pipeline health is looking. This is important because you can do further analysis around what my pipeline conversion rate is, or how much additional pipeline do I need to generate to meet my year-end goals. So all this information surfaced right here for me as a commercial banker to consume as I log into Salesforce. Currently, in order to get all this information, I have to access multiple systems. By the time I get the information, it's outdated, right? Now, an observation here, we know who the end user is. So the data is automatically security trimmed to that user profile. This is key because if you were to take this visualization and build it in another tool and then plop it within the context of Salesforce, you'd have to rebuild all that security infrastructure you already invested in around profiles and record ownership, which is automatically surfaced here. So by default, when I log in here as a commercial sales rep, I have a contextual experience. The data is the data that I care about and understand. Likewise, if I'm this commercial sales reps manager, I might see a larger set of data and cascading up to an executive who might see everything, right? So security is built in, and security trimming and filtering around the record ownership is automatically built in to the CRM analytics experience. Now, Einstein will automatically inherit your Salesforce security model. So there's going to be no extra heavy lifting that needs to be done for that. And therefore, when a user goes in, they're only seeing the data that Salesforce, that the Salesforce admin or their analyst has set up and set for them to see. So here I can also do things like embed links to get more holistic view of my current pipeline. And for the sake of this this demo, I've already kicked off that dashboard. So here I can see my pipeline by close date and stage. I could then filter, by account, by company region, or by industry, right? Company size. I can see what my top accounts are in terms of my pipeline opportunities, what my top opportunities are by amount, as well as the predicted win rate. So this is where that intelligence and a look into the future comes into play, where Einstein or machine learning is predicting what the opportunity win rate is going to be. And as you can see, it's infused throughout the experience. This is currently sorted by opportunity amount, but I can easily sort, based on Einstein predicted win rate, etc. So I did want to spend a little time here. Let's say I want to look at all my opportunities within a certain close date period. I can drill into those. And as you see dynamically, the dashboard updates across the board. I have a list of opportunities, and now I have the ability to do inline editing, right? So I can push my close dates out. I can change my amounts right here from that dashboard. So as a commercial banker, if I'm having my one-on-ones with my team leader going through my opportunities one by one, I can make these changes in the Salesforce platform right from the dashboard itself without ever leaving my screen. So this is extremely powerful. But now let me focus in on one particular opportunity. I'm going to focus here on this particular opportunity, the Durgan that we saw before. We have a high amount in terms of opportunity, but then a low Einstein predicted win probability. So let's see what's going on with this here account. And I am going to just click in to drill into the account. And again, you'll see dynamically the dashboard update, so I can just focus on this one. So as I select this, I can see the opportunity here along with seeing profitability metrics dashboard here on the side, which is telling me my profitability metrics, which again could be coming from a third-party external data source outside of Salesforce. In this case, this is actually an embedded Tableau profitability dashboard. But now with this open architecture that we have for CRM analytics, we can embed this within the CRM dashboard, and all of the widgets can speak to one another. So without leaving my Salesforce screen, I don't have to go into another screen. In this case, I can see these metrics. It's all here and all interactive. Now, because CRM analytics is native to Salesforce, I can go ahead and take action on it right from the dashboard. So as I drill in here, I now am met with what we call our action menu, action framework, right? So I've sliced and diced my data. I've identified the opportunity I want to focus on. When it comes to traditional BI tool, that's really where the story ends. You've got this great business insight, but you have no way to turn it into action. So this is really the benefit of native analytics. I can seamlessly and frictionlessly take that business insight and turn it into business action. So what that means is that as a commercial banker, I no longer have to swivel chair between applications, between screens, or even hopping in and out of the search bar and go poking around for an associated record. Or if we think about how much time reps are spending having to go in and out of the system, the value is ever more highlighted. So whether I want to open this directly, this record directly, or potentially call, email, create a new quote, I'm going to do that, be able to do that here. And from our actions menu to really guide me to take that action without ever leaving the workflow. Again, harping on this point, actionability really is the reasons customers buy native analytics. We're helping to drive behavior. And because it's really embedded here in Salesforce business process, it gives that unique capability over any competitor because it's native in Salesforce and actionable. This is the only analytics tool in or out of Salesforce that's going to allow us to do this in this way. And we can leverage the Salesforce global actions to perform actions on any Salesforce object record directly from analytics. So this can be customized. So maybe I only want to drive a certain behavior, or maybe I want to just have them open a record or create a task. I can limit the amount of actions the business user sees, or I can choose to have as many or as few as I'd like, and they can also be customized to meet the unique needs of the business user. So let's go ahead from this and create a new task. And I'm just gonna call it follow up, and we'll say we'll schedule that for tomorrow. And then we'll say it's in progress. And I can go ahead and save that. So one of the other metrics as a commercial banker, as I'm tasked to do, is to grow my business. So I want to pop back into the home and see which customers I have called on or haven't called on. And that insight's being surfaced. So as I look into my portfolio, I can see all that information surfaced here for me. I can see all of my customers sorted by revenue. I can see who has or has not been called in the last 180 days, right from the dashboard itself. I can, again, action to create a new event, appointment, new opportunity, or drill directly into the record. So I have accounts by white space here, so I can see them by white space. I know Jim mentioned that was a big thing for commercial bankers in terms of lending and funding. So that's here for me, surfaced directly. I can also see these are my top accounts here. I can see what are the products they have and the ability to sell additional products based on their white space. And again, I can drill directly into the record here if I needed to through that actions menu. I can also look at risk clients, and this is again based on that um, um, uh, Einstein attrition risk. So based on a score, I can then show the action menu there and drill directly into the record. Or I could just look at my upcoming loans maturing and take action again right from the dashboard. So this is just an example based on conversations with our customers we've had put together this day in the life, but it's completely configurable based on what your reps want to see. Jumping across here to the prospect tab, one of the other key use cases is around prospecting for commercial bankers. They're new to new numbers. They want to consistently keep adding new customers to their portfolio. So this is where Einstein can really, really be helpful. You can take a look at your top prospects. Again, machine learning is telling you what prospects have high propensity to convert, looking at their company profile, maybe the number of employees, where they're located. All of these can be taken into consideration. But as I drill down, again, this is very dynamic. So I'm in California. I'm a little biased. I'm going to click down into California. And then when I click on the details, I can see it updating based on the previous metric. And as I click down, I can begin to choose or filter by company size, by city, industry. Again, these are completely configurable. But in this case, I have the ability to take all of the records that were surfaced here, and then I can do what's called bulk action in terms of mass actioning and sending this out. So I can add all of these records and create a follow-up task, or add them all to potentially to a campaign. So now that we've seen how easy it is to kind of act on individual records, you can do inline editing, as we saw, updating opportunities within your one-on-one, or again, bulk actioning to add records to campaign to deepen the relationships that you have. Wanted to see there are any comments, questions before I move on to that manager persona.
Hey, Amber, I want to make sure that we leave enough time. Maybe we leave some time at the end, but if we could move to having discussion with Matt, let's give Matt some time to go through things, and then we can follow up with questions and finish up at the end.
Sounds good. I'll turn it over to you, Matt.
Appreciate it. Thank you. So, Michaela, if we could please switch over so we can talk a little bit about the Fulton journey. Thank you very much, Amber. That was an excellent view into how CRMA works, and I hope we'll have a little bit of time for some questions at the end. Wanted to introduce Matt Bills. I have the distinct pleasure of working with Matt. So my name is Gene Zeiger. I work for a company called Atrium, and Matt is responsible for the CRM within Fulton Bank. So Matt, maybe we could just ask you to introduce yourself first, if you wouldn't mind.
Sure. Thanks, Gene, and hopefully good afternoon, everyone. As Gene mentioned, my name is Matt Bills, and I'm our Salesforce Platform Director at Fulton Bank. So I oversee our product teams that work across our Salesforce environment. So that's Financial Services Cloud. We have an nCino loan origination platform, as well as an asset quality database that's built on the Salesforce platform.
Great. Thank you very much, Matt. So if we could move forward to the next slide, please. So just a moment on Atrium, just so everyone who may not be familiar with us knows who we are. So Atrium is a services partner. We work really closely within the financial services sector with a lot of organizations in advising, implementing, and managing certainly Salesforce core and the CRM overall financial services cloud, but we're in many ways the go-to partner for CRM analytics and Tableau and everything analytics and artificial intelligence within financial services. So on the next slide, please. So what we wanted to do today, again, I have the pleasure of asking Matt a few questions, and we wanted to have him kind of talk a little bit about his journey. So next one, please. So Matt, if you would, maybe you could just start out with describing your sort of experience with financial services cloud in general? Like, how have you started out with FSC? What are your, data and analytics challenges been to date? Like, maybe you could just give us a little bit of background.
Sure. Yeah, so prior to Financial Services Cloud, maybe a little background on Fulton Bank. So we're in the Northeast, 5-state footprint, 3,000 plus employees. That's how many licenses we have within FSC today. But prior to our transition to FSC, we were an Enact user, which is a Microsoft Dynamics-based CRM system, and we kind of were looking at our needs as an organization, and we ended up transitioning to Financial Services Cloud December of 2021. So we're coming up on a year here in another month, and really one of our goals was moving more towards a platform approach versus a point solution, and we felt like Salesforce was well positioned to help us enhance not only what we currently were doing, but also provide us with the rails to expand the work that we had started and really utilize FSC as a true sales and service platform for us as an organization. So not only building new functionality, but how do we maybe sunset functionality where we're using other systems and roll that into the investment that we're making within Salesforce. Your second question around analytics challenges, we were a Power BI user, particularly on the sales end. We'd spent a variety of years building out lots of different sales analytics views for our team. And as we stood up Financial Services Cloud, while there's some similarities, there's also some differences along the way too. And so, some of the things that we wanted to get to as a team was, an actionable hierarchy. So something that we could look up and down the hierarchy, but also across it. So for our folks in the financial services space, you have specialized banking in the commercial space. We have different segments where people work with different size customers. So we not only wanted to look at things from a geography standpoint, but we also wanted to look at what are the roles of those relationship managers and how are they impacting maybe across our footprint. So that was a challenge for us, being able to stand that hierarchy up. And really our main focus to start with was kind of the day-to-day operations. So looking at goals, looking at pipeline, looking at activities, and how those three areas really worked well with one another and gave our relationship managers the ability to track and manage the work that they're doing with customers each and every day.
Yeah, thank you. I think you started down you already kind of went down the path of my next question. So, but I love the idea. Maybe you can expand a little bit on that. Like, what were the kind of core things that you focused on for CRMA specifically, but kind of for analytics journey today? Like, what are the key decision points and the key things that are important to your users within commercial specifically, maybe more broadly in the bank in general? And
yeah, absolutely. So
talk a little bit those things. Yeah.
Yeah, Gene. Yeah. So we obviously partnered with Atrium to start to look at goals and pipeline and activities, and Gene and his team did a great job with us over the last few weeks and months, and we continue to build that out as we move forward. But we really started with a dashboard looking at goals, pipeline, and activity, and wanting that dashboard to be actionable. So we wanted our relationship managers to be able to come into a centralized area within Financial Services Cloud, so they didn't have to go anywhere else to look for it, and be able to answer pretty specific questions. Do I have enough activities that are driving my pipeline? What are the levers that I can pull as I review my pipeline to increase my win rate or compress the length of time that deals are in my pipeline? And then looking at sales results, where do I stand regarding my run rate? Am I on track? Am I off track? And then having the ability to really look at those three areas so that people can get into coaching sessions and have good conversations with their leadership team, but also really manage their day-to-day. If I'm short on my run rate, then I have to go back to my pipeline. And do I have enough in my pipeline that's going to cover the run rate that I need to have? And if if I don't have enough top of the funnel activities, then I go to the activity page and I say, okay, like what are the right activities that I need to do in the field, whether that be with prospects or customers that are driving more business into the pipeline area. So again, really, trying to give actionable information, that information updating on a regular basis for our relationship managers, and then having their ability to go in and again, kind of pull different levers along the way, right? Different sales behaviors that help them be successful as they're meeting with customers in the market and help them achieve their goals as well.
Yeah, I feel like you all embraced exactly what Amber was describing in pretty much every way, it seems, right? It's literally like actionable insights within the CRM, coaching moments, people being able to work together, and what would you say you've seen so far as, I know it's kind of early days for you, but adoption, response rate, how are people feeling about it within commercial?
Sure. Yeah, I think initial feedback from everyone has been really positive. The ability, in some ways, almost to streamline some of the views that we give to individuals with our transition from BI to CRM analytics. Again, putting things at people's fingertips, the ability to have that embedded in Salesforce, not having to, for us, would have been like tricking people so that they thought they were still in Microsoft Dynamics, even though they were in Power BI, right, in our old world. So they do have the ability to look at information, update pipeline. One of the big pieces that I'm sure all sales teams deal with is stale dated deals. So we're able to give a view for our team members that say, hey, you had an expected close date that we've now gone past. So this needs extra attention as we continue to build out an expected forecast model for the group. The rollout plan to get this into people's hands was not labor intensive by any means. An hour, if that, session, and they get a link and they have access to it, and away they go within the market. So yeah, really powerful, really good feedback. And for us, it's not just commercial. So we have a similar look and feel for our consumer team, for our wealth area, treasury management. So our goal is, no matter what business line you are, you might have different goals. You obviously have different pipeline metrics that you're looking at, but it's the same look and feel regardless, so that we can roll data up as an organization to continue to look at things in a really clean way.
Totally. I love the way you all made it all consistent across teams and groups. I think it makes a huge difference. So last but not least, or if you look forward a little bit, a bit of ways for you, Matt, like what does the future look like, at least from an analytics and AI perspective? I know it's kind of a big question, but maybe you can kind of look forward a couple of years and say, hey, we'd love to be here, right, in our journey.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think Amber went through like a ton of possibilities that are out there utilizing CRM analytics. I think the way that we look at it is, I describe it as meaningful insights. So how do we continue to drive the right information at the right time to our team members? We know that customers want smart bankers. They want people that understand their business, that are invested in helping them succeed financially. And so we look at that meaningful insights as a way to bubble up the right information to our team members so that they can ask really good questions. We don't just want to recommend a product and say, hey, have you looked at this product? But we want to take insights, we want to take data, and we want to arm our people so that they can have really good conversations with customers and drive really good outcomes with them as well. So, I think there are a lot of different paths that we can go down. I think we want to continue to purposefully step into that insight section within CRM analytics and choose the right metrics that we deliver to our team, so that when they enter, a customer page, whether that's a person or a business or anything along those lines, it's easily consumable, they can understand what we're trying to tell them, and it helps them, have good conversations with customers. I think it also is important as we're hiring people, that if we can start to generate insights on that end, we feel like it can increase ramp time for our folks, obviously drive a better customer experience, because customers will feel heard and understand that we do understand what's happening within their business, and ultimately deliver a better customer experience. So, while the work we've done at this point, I think, Amber, you used a good terminology. It was kind of rear view looking, right? Things that have been done, and we've started to implement some things that are forward looking. But I think as we continue to evolve coming up here, a lot of it is forward looking, insight driven, finding the right amount of metrics to give to our team members so that they can impact customer conversations in a really positive way.
I love those goals. It's customer focused. It's employee focused. It's just, we just are privileged to be on the journey with you. So thank you. That's awesome, Matt. Thank you very much for all of that feedback. And if we can go to the next slide, please. I just want to spend one other minute on kind of what our experience is with the initial approach and how do we get started. And then we'll save a little bit of time for questions. So real briefly, the way that we think about it is the good news with CRM analytics, we can start as quickly or as significantly as people would like. There are certain things that we can do to stand up initial analytics, because Salesforce has and CRMA have made it fairly easy for us, right? We can quickly start with core capabilities in 4 to 8 weeks, say, get to a point where we can immediately show value. And then we also find that the kinds of things that Matt's talking about, more custom solutions, might take a little bit more time, say 3 months or so, but still provide just a lot of value. And we've been able to get a lot accomplished in that time frame. So just a brief overview of the different offerings that we have from a kind of initial services perspective. So with that, I'd love to kind of see if there are any questions for either Matt, myself, or just as importantly, Amber, and technical things that you might be interested in. Happy to open it up, and please put your questions in the Q&A, and we'll do our best to answer them. And Yannick, maybe you can kind of coordinate for us.
Yeah, I'm happy to. There's actually a really great question in the chat right now for Matthew. And so the question is, how did adoption of Salesforce's data insights compare to the adoption of the Power BI reports you were working on before?
Yeah, thank you for the question. I think one of the benefits that we have with the initial work that we've done here is, it's really tied to people's sales results and their compensation plans. So people are very engaged, right? When you start to talk about results, whether they're on track for goals or not. I would say one of the main differences where we've also found value is on the simplification, which we talked about a little bit. After 4 years in our Power BI world, we had multiple pages that were available that at one point we felt like were a great idea. And then we realized, hey, no one's looking at this, it's not really driving good outcomes. So the ability to work with Gene and the Atrium team also gave us a great opportunity to hit the reset button on some of those things as well. And I think our mindset was, how do we simplify so that we can make these more actionable for people? And I know that's been good feedback from that standpoint. So yeah, adoption's been good. I think we came from a world of good, strong adoption as well. So that was benefiting us. But I think the simplification that we went through as well helped along the way, so that as people looked at information, it was easy to use. And it was at their fingertips, and it wasn't clouded with maybe a lot of other things that looked cool on paper but weren't as useful as maybe they could have been.
Perfect. And follow up, and I think you might have mentioned it, I get this question all the time. do you feel that this also had an impact on the overall adoption of Salesforce at Fulton?
Yeah, we're early stages on some of that, but listen, the more you can send someone into the environment that you want them to live in on a regular basis is never a bad thing. So having all of those worlds embedded with one another can only help drive overall adoption numbers. And again, if we're keeping it to what people need to do on a day-to-day basis to track and manage the work that they're doing with customers, then they should want to continue to go in there on a recurring basis as well.
Perfect, thank you. This next question, I believe, is going to be for Amber. And the question is, for the predictive piece of CRM analytics, how much history do you need to begin to leverage that feature?
Yeah, that's a great question. Typically, you need about 400 to 500 rows of data to begin leveraging the capabilities within Einstein Discovery.
Perfect, thank you. And to add to that, additionally, within the tool on the back end, there is a wizard that you will run for the predictive piece, and it'll be able to tell you, how successful is that prediction, and that'll give you the ability to decide whether to put it into action for your users or not, or do you need more data to add into it as well. And then Amber, another question for you as well. On the whitespace grid view, if you click on the whitespace cells, can you get an action window such as creating an opportunity or activity, a task, etc.? So this is really about that action framework of CRM analytics.
Yeah, so if you click on the actual cell itself, it's going to dynamically alter the view. But what you would do is click on the opportunity name that's associated with that particular cell, and then you would get that action framework or that drop-down menu to be able to create a task or create a new opportunity or update that or change that in some way.
All right, thank you, appreciate it. And I think we've got just about one minute or left or so. Is there any other questions that anybody else wants to put in the chat or come off of mute for? All right, I think we're good. We are going to make the recording of this available to everybody, as well as the slides, which also have some take-home content for you as well, if you'd like to dive deeper into it. So we'll go ahead and right on the hour. Thank you.